Aloha friends, we're on the low carb cruise and I have my dear friend Bronson here. He is just a wealth of knowledge. I'm really excited to talk to him today about everything, reversing insulin resistance, we can talk about the carnivore lifestyle. This is where, like, the first time I met you in person, Weiss guest that we actually visited was at the carnivore conference, right?
Yeah,
in Costa Rica.
We actually got to meet in person and talk and
like hang out.
Yeah,
that was really, really nice, and just learning about each other. He inspired me to start lifting weights again, not running so much. So that's all thanks to Bronson. But hey, Bronson, tell us about how you got started in this community.
In the community?
Or like this lifestyle.
Yeah, the lifestyle. I was looking for a solution to help me understand why, even though I could do all the things fitness, I was still fat, overweight, sick.
No.
Oh yeah.
You?
Oh yeah. Yep.
How long ago was this?
IBS, acne, like all the things.
Really?
And urgent bowels, like my life.
I always thought you were like this muscle dude.
No. So I went from being overweight, lost a bunch of weight, got in shape, and then it all started coming back. And I couldn't figure out why.
What age was that for you?
That was started getting in shape in my late 30s.
Okay.
It was my mid 40s that I was like, okay, wait a second, I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
What the heck's going on here? And then that's when I tried carnivore.
So was it like life was happening? It was just life was getting
Well,
worse?
I thought I was doing all the right things. I
Really?
even went, because I got into fitness, got in super good shape, went paleo, went Whole30, went no sugar, did all the things.
And you were gaining weight?
And I was still gaining weight. I was getting hurt all the time. All these things were happening. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I completely eliminated plants.
Plants, especially with the IBS.
Yeah, the IBS was the instant thing. It was like within weeks. It was really 90 days after going carnivore where I realized, wait a second, all these things I normally do to prepare for having to go to the bathroom, I don't have to do that anymore.
I know. Could you imagine a doctor telling you, cut out all the fiber, your IBS will go away.
Right.
Do not eat any vegetables.
Right. Exactly. And there's actually, thankfully now, we have studies that show that.
Yeah.
Right? When you reduce fiber or when you add fiber, it gets worse.
Yeah, but you still don't have doctors telling you. Don't touch a vegetable, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
not at all.
No, not at all. So, when you went carnivore, what was your diet like? What did you start with? Like,
so I'm a little crazy. I decided after looking at it for a few weeks, trying to find places, looking into whatever. I listened to the Sean Baker podcast with Joe Rogan. That was my first introduction. So I started cold turkey on May 1st, 2018. I just decided this is what I'm going to do, and I started doing it. I was like, I get to eat meat all the time. Why would I worry about that? It's not like I want to eat vegetables.
No.
I was always told to do it, so I did it. I literally just ate whatever meat I had in the house, and then went and got more, and that was 6 years ago. It's been over a month over 6 years now.
You know what I love about what you just said? You don't have to buy these vegetables that go bad in your fridge,
right?
Or fruits. You just get meat, and if it's going to go bad, you throw it in the freezer until you're ready to eat it. And my kids, they're 13 and 14 now. They don't like that. They never like vegetables. I remember kind of forcing them to have it.
Yeah, I feel so bad. I force my kids to eat vegetables. Like, I'm sorry, guys. If you're watching, I'm sorry.
I stopped forcing them about 8 years ago. We wrote that carnivore cookbook, and what I love is Craig made those charts about where the nutrients are,
right?
And how
which I stole, by the way.
There's so many more nutrients in. Oh, that's okay. In your book?
In my last book.
Oh, awesome.
I copied. I mean, I credited you guys, but I did steal it. This is from the keto book.
Well, my mom's always like, your kids need to eat they don't eat any vegetables when they stay with my mom. And I'm like, dude, just read this. And she's still, it's really hard for people to.
It's brainwashing.
It's just, your decades of being told that whenever I talk about vegetable oils, she's like, la 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 la. And I'm like, Mom, I'm talking about seed oils, not vegetables. And then she's like, oh, okay. She'll kind of listen to that. But what have you noticed about changing your diet?
Everything. So my ability, we'll talk about the fitness side of things, because I was doing fitness and still gaining weight and still had health issues and that stuff. So all the health issues went away, number one. IBS went away, urgent bowels went away, acne went away. I haven't had, like, if I get a zit now, it's like, where the hell did that come from? That's the craziest thing. I'm 52 years old talking about zits, but whatever.
Well,
it's something, right? It's a thing. My back used to get covered, my face, my nose would break out, all kinds of different things, and it just doesn't happen anymore.
Well, because you're getting enough zinc. I know a lot of back knee is related to zinc deficiency.
Inflammation, general overall inflammation is just so non-existent. Like my C-reactive protein, if it could be 0, it would be 0. Like it's ridiculous. So that was the first thing. All the health things that I was dealing with went away. The second thing from a body composition perspective is I immediately began to control my body composition better. I knew if I did this, I would see this.
Really? So
immediately the fat started coming off.
Yep.
But that's what really woke me up to the wait a second, what's going on? Wait, carnivores answered a lot of questions for me. I had a lot of puzzle pieces that were I couldn't fill in with the current thought process around nutrition.
Like what?
Like calories in, calories out.
No.
It never made sense to me. If you're telling me it's all about calories, but I have to make sure I get enough protein, then it's not about calories.
So are you saying calories in, calories out don't mean anything?
Oh, it's the crap. Fuel intake does, but fuel and calories are not the same thing. It's the amount of actual food you're eating that's used for fuel.
So an example, like protein is kind of like this free fuel.
It's not it's not free. It's used differently.
It's actually utilized.
It's utilized by the body, right? So it's like oil and gas.
Right.
Oil is what keeps the engine running. Mm-hmm. You need a certain amount of it, and if you have more of it, you're going to do harm to your system. If you have not enough of it, you're going to do harm to your engine. Gas is the same way. I have gas, I'm going to put it in, I'm going to use it up. But how much protein I get and how much gas I get aren't necessarily tied. That's why I don't like using ratios. I say, here's how much protein you start with, here's how much fat you start with. Let's work that out, find out what the good balance is.
So you use macros rather than percentages?
I use macros rather than percentages.
Yeah, because I just did this last interview with Jonathan and he talked about percentages. Like, well, I don't really do that.
Yeah, because a percentage based off of an imaginary number is still imaginary. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I want to know if I eat 120 grams of fat consistently, do I gain weight or not? If I'm gaining fat at 120, do I gain fat at 110? If I'm maintaining at 120, can I go to 130 and still maintain, or will I gain?
So is that a fuel source that you lower if you need to?
I manage my fat as a lever, right? That's how I do it. So I try, I tell most people wherever you start in your protein, most people aren't getting close to that number to begin with, right?
Nope.
So get to that number, and then once you're there, you can probably stay at that number for a good long time, and the only thing you have to manage is your fat intake.
I think one reason is that people, that's not their favorite thing to eat. But in some way, I made it my favorite thing because I make it differently.
Yeah.
But I don't think people realize that you can have, have you tried my pudding?
Oh yeah.
That Halle Berry likes?
I made it a couple weeks ago.
A lot of protein, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then if you make it,
and you're making it with eggs, so you're actually getting nutrition in it.
Right.
It's not, your pudding is one of the great examples that I like to use that's an actual meal.
It is.
It's not like just some
not
thing that you put together,
I was talking to some people here and they're like, oh yeah, I love having eggs and bacon for breakfast. Like, I don't.
I personally love it.
Well, I just, for me, I would rather have hamburgers or something that's not traditional breakfast than eggs. But, second of all, because there's more protein in that.
Yeah, if I could do a filet mignon every day for every meal,
I don't do that anymore.
Do that, but I would love to do that.
I don't do that so much anymore. But even like the carnivore bread, you made that, right? You can make like a sandwich with the carnivore bread and be like, boom, it's a great way to switch it up. But aloha friends, one of my very favorite things to do is go camping, and I love camping in Devil's Lake, Wisconsin. If you've ever been here, give a shout out. It's amazing. I already ran around the lake this morning, and now we're on a family hike around the lake. And to keep my energy up, I always pack Element with me. All you have to do is throw it into a bottle of water and shake it up. It's a natural Gatorade without sugar. And if you want to get a free sample with your order, they are so generous. If you go to drinkelement.com/KetoMaria, you can get a free sample with your order, and it's really good. We love the raspberry, we love the orange, the watermelon's good. They're all good, and even the chocolate. It makes a great hot chocolate after a long hike around a campfire. So check it out, drinkelement.com/KetoMaria. Okay, so when you talk about you can kind of manipulate your body composition, do you notice that you work out less or maybe the same?
Same. Don't change, yeah. My workout routine, schedule, frequency, all that kind of stuff is really more about my schedule and what I have going on. Most of the time,
Yeah, I'd like
I
to
try
know.
to do 4 to 5 days a week.
How long is it?
45 minutes.
45 minutes? Is
Yeah,
it really hard?
depending on what I'm doing, 30 minutes to an hour, somewhere in there. So I'm a little different. So I'm not maybe the best use case for most people to follow, because as a coach, I experiment with a lot of different things,
Okay.
because I want to try things out
Before.
myself before I give them to other people.
Yeah.
So like right now, I'm working on a minimalist program where I isolate specific movements that try to give the biggest bang for the buck on muscle growth,
Okay.
and limit the number of total exercises per workout throughout the week.
Yeah.
So it's like 30 minutes and you're done.
Yep.
And then you work out 5 times,
Right.
6 times a week for 30 minutes and you're done, and that's it. But you get the most out of it out of that time as possible.
Because everybody, I mean, now that I finally have some muscle definition, everybody's like, oh man, how do you get your arms so built? I'm like, very little.
Yeah.
But it's every day, but I switch. So I do upper body on one day. For me, it's all about habits.
Yes.
And once I'm in a habit, it's hard for me to stop it. So I don't ever want to do every other day. So for me, I'd rather do 20 minutes every single day.
Right, but if you're moving it around your body, then
Yeah.
you can handle that, because you're not
Yeah.
overworking any one thing.
My favorite thing is a clean and press.
Okay.
I really love that.
All right.
Like, you'd be surprised at how much I can do. But that's what I told you. My goal was to be able to lift
Well, because
my
you were talking
kayak.
about your kayak. You were having
Yes,
issues with that,
I
right?
couldn't get it back on my car, and I was like, I got to get strong enough to do that again. And it did not take that long.
It doesn't.
Honestly, I used to run an hour every single day, and you're like, that's too much. And now I haven't run on the ship at all because I don't like it.
Yeah.
I love running in the woods with the deer, but it's usually like 15 to 20 minutes maximum. But if I only have time to lift, I choose that. And
Yeah. This is a good point to make for you guys listening too, because I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday about cardio and understanding that cardio is not an exercise. We don't think about this. Cardiovascular exercise is an exercise that impacts the cardiovascular system.
Okay.
So cardio, when we talk about cardio, we're talking about doing something to improve our cardiovascular system.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Say again?
Your VO2 max, don't you want to make that better?
But you can make that better by lifting weights. You can improve your cardiovascular system by doing things other than running, other than walking, other than an elliptical.
Okay.
Right? So when you're lifting
Oh, you'll
weights,
never catch me on the elliptical.
right? Well, but the idea of cardio, when people hear cardio, they think, oh, this treadmill, elliptical, bike, rowing, swimming, that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah.
Lifting weights improves cardio.
Because you're getting your heart rate up.
You're getting your heart rate up if you're doing it right. You're challenging yourself. You're increasing blood flow. You're increasing stroke volume. You're increasing all of your heart still has a response. I'm actually looking at getting a new certification that I don't have, that I want to get, and studying for that. There's a whole section on the cardiovascular response to weightlifting, and side by side,
So your
they're almost
VO2 max?
identical to endurance work.
Well, I enjoy it much more. I can
Yeah.
throw on a TV
Yeah.
show that, like, I do it early in the morning. It's some show that, my kids make fun of me
Sure.
for watching. And I can just, I don't know, it goes by in a heartbeat. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And I'm not saying not to do cardio, but I'm saying that the focus.
Oh, no, I'm saying when I'm lifting weights.
Oh, when you're lifting weights,
I just
yeah,
throw
yeah,
on
yeah,
a show
yeah.
that I really like. I'm focusing
And
on
just
my,
do your-
I'm
do your
focusing
stuff.
on my, like, form or whatever, too.
Yes.
But no, with cardio, like, I'm finding that, I didn't realize that. Dr. Don Lehman, we interviewed him, and he was saying how if runners don't realize that you need almost 30% more protein
Right.
because your body's eating your muscle,
Yeah.
like it is.
Especially chronic long distance runners, when all you do is run all the time.
Yep. And I definitely noticed I wasn't eating enough protein. I would try to do like this OMAD thing, and I wouldn't get enough protein. But I just really want to talk too about like why muscle is important. Can you tell us that? Like
For everything.
I know, right? I know.
For everything.
So, what do you think? It's some of the things that people need to take home with this video.
Yeah, I think for the biggest majority of people talking about insulin resistance, I think the understanding that muscle, and there's two aspects to this. It's not just the muscle, but how we get the muscle.
Yeah.
So having muscle by itself does two things. It gives your body a place to put glycogen.
Yep.
Right? Oh, I have room to store it. I
Yep.
don't have to convert it to fat. I don't have to do all of this stuff. I don't have to raise insulin because I've got nowhere to put it. So helping manage insulin better, helping manage the storage of glycogen better. The more muscle you have, the less spikes, the less issues you have with insulin and blood sugar, number one. Number two, the more muscle you have, the more mitochondria you have. So so our muscles are made of fibers and they're all bundled together, right? Like a bunch of rubber bands all squished together. And in between all of those strands of muscle fiber are mitochondria.
So why should we care about that?
The more of those you have, the more energy you burn. So if you want to burn energy, lose body fat, and improve your body composition, just build more muscle, and your body's going to automatically, even when you're not exercising. That's the big key.
So what are some mitochondria killers that people should be aware of?
Killers?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Everything?
Sugar, alcohol, drugs.
Everything that's not whole food animal based, if you're putting it in your body. But also
chronic sleep
deprivation.
Stress.
Sleep deprivation. We could get into epigenetic and environmental things, right? Perfumes.
Oh yeah.
Right, perfumes, deodorants, other lotions, right? There's stuff there. Endocrine disruptors, all that kind of stuff. There's so many things.
Yeah.
And this is why it's super important if you take the fundamental aspects of eating clean, animal-based whole foods nutrition and building muscle. That gives you the underlying thing to protect you from all the other stuff.
Have you ever heard of MOTS-C?
No, I haven't.
So I've really gotten into these peptides ever since Craig was diagnosed with Lyme disease.
Yeah.
So most people just know of peptides as like the GLP-1 one that everybody's using. Those come from amino acids, things that your body produces naturally. I'm not saying I agree with that one at all, but there's something called MOTS-C, which is, again, a group of amino acids, and you can inject that.
Okay.
And it's a mitochondria uncoupler, so it produces more.
Okay.
You have to use quite a bit, which can get really pricey, but there's another one, SS31. So I've just been experimenting with them.
Interesting. Okay.
And like what it does to my energy and things like that. Kind of like longevity type stuff.
Yeah.
But just interesting.
Playing around
with that. But what was interesting, what you said about, you want muscle to have more glucose, places for glucose to go.
Yeah.
When we were on that carnivore TV show, the participants had type 2 diabetes, and one of them was Penny. And Penny was, 105 pounds, remember? 105 pounds, had type 2 diabetes so bad that she was having strokes, right? Insulin resistance.
Right.
She was very small. She was
wasn't about size.
She was from Indian descent. It wasn't about size, but she was skinny fat.
Yep.
She had no muscle. So instead of focusing on losing fat, which she really didn't have a lot of that, she didn't have a lot of fat cells. The ones she had were sub-full. The personal fat threshold, that drama that went on. But gaining muscle was so important to her, and she still eats carnivore to this day. She's reversed that and reversed osteopenia. But I'm actually going moose hunting at their house.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited.
Nice.
But it just kind of proves the point that the more muscle you have, the more places for glucose to go. And you will have some glucose even though you're not eating any carbohydrates. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you need it.
Yeah.
This is the thing that we get confused. We demonize glucose and glycogen so much that we start thinking, well, I don't want it. Well, guys, you need it. You need it to survive. There's a reason why our body can turn other things into glycogen and glucose. So
thyroid.
Right. Thyroid. We need these things. Like this always gets people when I say this. We couldn't be ketogenic without gluconeogenesis. We would die. So that's there for a reason. Now, where people get confused, if we want to go down this rabbit hole, is that gluconeogenesis does not just mean protein, right? So if you look up the definition of gluconeogenesis, it is the creation of glucose from substrates, carbs, and other substances. So it's not just fats and other substances. So it's not just protein. The byproducts of ketogenesis can actually feed into gluconeogenic processes. So being ketogenic supports gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis supports being ketogenic. It kind of all works in a symbiotic fashion. So
and not that we want to get into that, but ketosis, you want to be burning free fatty acids, not necessarily ketones.
A little bit of both. So I have some theories about that
Okay.
I'm not going to say them because I haven't substantiated them. Where we are now, I have conversations planned with Ben and Dom to work through some things and answer some questions.
Okay, speaking of Ben, let's talk about the insulin model.
Okay.
Can you gain weight if insulin doesn't rise?
Can you gain weight if insulin doesn't? Yeah, absolutely.
I know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's not all about insulin.
It's not all about insulin.
No.
Okay. Let's talk more about like building muscle. Like how can people start?
So there's a lot of different ways. For a lot of people who have no experience,
I never like going to the gym.
I like to use. So my focus is on lifestyle and how we engage in our environment every day. So if you are currently struggling with something in your home, walking up the stairs, getting off your couch, getting up and down off the floor, those types of things, just doing those things consistently until they become easy, that's all you gotta do.
I worked with a man named Tyler. He was over 600 pounds, and he had quads like no other, because just standing up, sitting down was a huge squat for him, right? Wow.
Yeah. So it's about quality of life and where are you right now and what can you do? So there's no expectation that you need to do any one thing other than what's going to impact my life the most.
Well, and what you enjoy too. It's not going to work if you really don't enjoy it. So for me, I did not like going to the gym. So I created my own environment at home. Like I told you, I get to watch my favorite show. It's still dark out in the morning. I like to do it early. But I do the moves that I love the most. Obviously, I should probably like expand that, right?
It's always good to throw a little bit of some other things in there.
Right, but I'm always about like getting better. So start at the basics and then let's throw in one more thing, kind of to play with your brain a little bit too. Because can your body get used to those same movements all
your body, it's the adaptation. It depends. So if you're challenging yourself, then you may get really good at the movement. It's the weight or the speed or the number of reps you're doing that will be your challenge. But there's also something to be said for doing different things so that you teach your brain how to learn. So because there's the physiological aspect of growing muscle, but then there's the central nervous system aspect of teaching your body how to control itself. So when we get older, what are the two big things to go? Balance and coordination. Those are mental, those aren't physical. So learning how to do different exercises, it's not about muscle confusion, it's not about switching things up to confuse your body and like that. It's literally, I need to keep my brain pliable, right? We talk about, neuroplasticity. Right? I need to teach my brain how to learn different things and not get only one way to do it.
Right. Something you didn't mention about what's so important about building muscle is something that affected your family, bone health.
Bone health.
Could you expand on, your mom is just a bright light and I loved her presentation. Could you talk about how her bone, osteopenia or
osteoporosis. She had diagnosed osteoporosis and reversed that. So she did a combination of heavy lifting. Her favorite thing to do is deadlift. She loves exercise.
Thought it was jumping onto the box.
She likes doing that too. Her ability to do that. She's 70 years old and she can do a box jump, right?
She's a rock star, man.
Yeah, so
she's 70?
For her to be able to say that is super cool. But reversing osteoporosis was a combination of nutrition, both going carnivore, and she did take some calcium supplements to kind of help.
I don't agree with calcium.
Calcium. There's other. It wasn't just calcium. It was a combination of some things that she helped, and she does attribute some of that success to those two things, but mostly she attributes the weight training, because the ability of her bones to handle the stress of the lifting is what rebuilt. So here's the thing: it's like protein. It's like eating protein without lifting. Okay. If you take a calcium supplement or change your diet and do all these great things, but you don't actually lift and tell the bones they need to be stronger, then nothing's gonna happen. So you have a structure in the bones, they grow and duplicate and multiply and get stronger and denser when force is applied. So if you're never applying force, it doesn't matter how much calcium you have in your bones, it's never gonna get used. Just like if I eat a ton of protein, that's great, but if I'm not lifting and telling my muscles that they need to grow, then they're not going to grow. Same thing.
It's just there's so much information about calcium actually calcifying in the arteries. This doesn't actually get into the bones. It's more about they used to think it was 4-to-1 ratio calcium to magnesium, and now we know it's switched. So even on a dairy-free diet, you usually get.
I think if I remember her research and going through all of that, it was not just the calcium, but there were some other things.
K2.
Vitamin D. Is it vitamin D?
It might have been. K2 is really important.
Something. It had a combination of things to help her bones actually absorb it better.
K2 gets calcium into the bones. Okay, so we can cut this here if you want to, but I remember talking to you, I believe, about her being on BHRT and how you wanted her to get off.
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Because do you know if she ever was on HRT?
She hasn't been.
She hasn't? Because that's a huge one to helping with bone health.
Oh yeah, well I haven't even discussed that with her yet. That's something Natalie, you can talk to Natalie about that. She's looking into that stuff now.
Yes, because it's not even like when you're in menopause or past menopause, which is one day. You know, as you come closer to it, you get lower and lower, and that's when like a lot of bone loss happens, a lot of muscle loss happens.
So we actually, Nat and I have been talking about this whole topic, TRT, HRT, because what she's researching for herself. But it hit me, and if you want to include this, it's fine. It hit me a realization in the conversation that I'd never put in context before in the ancestral view of menopause.
They didn't live this long.
Exactly. They didn't live this long. They didn't do the things that women are doing after 30, 40, 50. There's so many things that are different. It's like, no matter what anybody says, if you do decide to use this, no matter what anybody says, there is not a natural solution for the modern life of a woman in menopause. Not a natural one. It doesn't exist. Because biologically, that's not the history of the human being.
Once you were past being able to have babies, you went into a hut and died. Like, it's just...
Yeah. Well, at the most, you stayed in the hut and took care of the grandkids or something, right?
That's what
whatever,
I'm saying.
Right?
But you didn't live that much longer. Like, my children are from Ethiopia, and I think the average death age is like 37.
Yeah.
So, again, we weren't supposed to...
And women today in their 50s, my mom is 70 years old, and she's still principal of a school.
Yeah, she's a rock star.
She still works 70 hours a week.
Keeps her young, though, for sure.
Right? But to think that there's a natural solution for her body post-menopause to maintain itself at the same level pre-menopause is ridiculous.
Right. And that's just, I know there's some people out there saying just eat a stick of butter and your hormones won't tank. Well, there is something called that menopause is going to happen.
Yes.
You know, there's something to deny that.
Well, I mean, in that whole conversation, everybody forgets too that, you know, half our hormones come from amino acids, not fat.
We're just,
right? That's a whole nother discussion.
That's the title of this video, dude, because that's such a...
Right, your thyroid, all your T3 and T4 come from amino acids. Sorry.
Yeah.
Eating fat ain't gonna help that.
No, and we're not saying that you shouldn't eat any, but to, you know, that was the last conversation was really good. I was gonna go somewhere, but okay, I don't know how true this is. I believe Peter Itia said something along the lines of people who have been keto for a long time, it raises their sex binding globulin hormone thing. So even though your
just went down the last test I took.
It went down? Okay. Because that was something that I suffered with.
Yeah.
So even though I had normal levels, it was just kind of bringing them down.
Yeah, mine's gone kind of up and down. I've been playing around with my testosterone, my SBHG for a long time, trying to optimize and figure out what I need to do. I stopped drinking coffee for a while to see if it would make a difference, done different things. For me, the last 2 tests that I've done over the last year plus, a little over a year, were the lowest. It was higher the last time. The one I did like 3 months ago was the lowest it's been in a while. And the biggest change I made was more meals in a day by a little bit, like 2 regular meals and a smaller meal, and less focus on fat loss. I increased my fat a little bit.
Okay.
But my proteins, I'm at 200 pounds right now. My lean mass is about 165, 170. So, I mean, I average 185 to 200 grams of protein a day normally. That never changes.
Yeah.
I just was super low on the fat. Like I was in the 110, 115 range on fat.
Which is
trying
low
to keep
when
a
you're
good body composition, right?
Because here's the thing, protein is not an energy source, fats or carbs. Right. Do you think stress has a play in that though?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because you had a lot of stress in your life.
Yeah, I have definitely had a lot of stress. And, you know, it's funny you say that because when I look back at when I did the different tests, the higher SBHG, and this is totally not corollary, this is total corollary, not causation, but the times that I have had higher SBHG have been in times where I was going through more in my personal life than not.
That's what I'm thinking, because when mine was tested, you know, Craig was going through a lot, and, you know, it was a lot. So
there isn't anything that I've heard from anybody who used to be a keto person, advocate, who isn't now, there's a few of them, that
kind of
can't be resolved through proper management of macros, whole food nutrition, and stress management.
Can you give us like an example?
Women needing carbs for menopause.
Yeah.
It's a huge one.
I would say that
right?
when
I know you need carbs to manage your cortisol. That one drives me crazy.
Well, that was my last conversation. So Jonathan was talking about that, and I was like, because I have physiological insulin resistance.
Yeah.
So when I eat, my blood sugar goes down. When I exercise, it's high. So it's kind of like that. And he's like, well, then you should have carbs. So tell me why I don't. Because I'm not going to add them.
Sure.
Because I don't feel good if I do that. My energy goes really down a lot.
Well, so the argument that, from my understanding, is the carbs raise your insulin, which drops your cortisol temporarily. It's an interim. You do it every once in a while to help keep your overall cortisol load down, right? If I eat a proper amount of fat and protein in a meal, I get the same thing, and it's a longer effect. Right? So I get stage 1 insulin raise, which is low, but slowly raises to a stage 2, which is higher, and it lasts longer. So I have a longer net effect of lower cortisol without a spike, and I don't have to eat carbs to do it.
Right.
So what's the point? So that's what I mean, like proper management of macros, eating whole foods. I haven't seen anything that says you need carbs to do that. And that just goes into a lot of the issues that I hear.
Right.
Electrolytes is another one.
Or like women who I've worked with, because he brought up how someone didn't have their cycle for maybe 3 months and just adding in some rice brought it back, where I kind of see the opposite. Where,
for the most part, I do too.
Carnivore, normal cycles for the first time in their life, or if they're going through menopause, no hot flashes, no night sweats. Yeah.
And the other part of it too is it's not just the nutrition. And like you said, right? So a lot of times there's other things. There's some other stressor. There's something else happening.
Well, she was an athlete too, so maybe she wasn't eating enough in general.
That's a whole, just so many things I have seen fixed in women particularly, if you would just eat more food. Just eat more, right? It's amazing how many things get solved when you give your body nutrition. Yeah. We don't understand, I say this all the time, macros aren't nutrition. You can do macros all day long from a body composition perspective, but that doesn't mean anything for your overall health if you're not getting the nutrition that you need, right? Fat is a macronutrient, protein is a macronutrient, but your body can't live off of that if you're getting fat and you're not getting B12, K2, D, right? A, B, C, all of them. If you're not getting selenium and magnesium and potassium, like if you're not getting these things, then who cares if you're hitting macros? Well,
on another level, I've seen some studies where people are eating the same macros. One group only got 4 hours a night of sleep.
Oh, it's a whole, absolutely.
The other group got 8 hours, and the majority of their macros went to fat on their body versus building.
And the people that got less sleep became more insulin resistant. Yep, absolutely.
So I don't think people realize how. I was talking to someone who works on the ship, and she made a comment. She's trying to fix her health, and I was like, well,
but they don't get any sleep.
If you're working on the ship, you're not sleeping, are you? And she goes, not really. I said, honey,
it's an uphill battle.
Yeah. So I give these people a lot of credit.
Yes.
I don't know.
And they work like 4 jobs.
I know.
I just saw our dinner guy doing something else in another store somewhere. Like
cleaning rooms, all the things. Well, Bronson, could you tell everybody where we can find you?
Yeah, if you go Google Coach Bronson, and you'll find me pretty much everywhere. CoachBronson.com, YouTube, and Instagram are the 3 big ones.
What about your new book?
Got a new book coming out. It's coming out in September.
We'll have the link below.
Pre-orders are available on Amazon. Right now it's Kindle and hard copy. Unfortunately, we can't do paperback until
here's
it's
the
launched.
thing, people, help out. When you pre-order, that helps out the author.
Oh my God,
so
if I could get, like, my publisher has basically said we want to hit this number in the first 90 days. So every single one helps.
Pre-orders help. And then you know exactly who it's going to. It helps a lot.
Because here's the deal. I want to get to a point. I want to be like you. I want to get to a point where I'm not working 9 to 5 to support this stuff. Oh, honey,
you have no idea. Right? I'm usually up at 3 working.
No, I'm working a job 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to get on a video with you at any point in the day and just talk about this stuff.
You'll get there.
And I can't do that yet. So that's where I'm trying to get.
Yep. Help Bronson out, everybody. Yeah. All right. And are you going to go to Alaska next year?
Yes, we'll be on Alaska.
So come to Low Carb Alaska with us, everybody. Mahalo. When I was 16 years old, I was diagnosed with PCOS, acid reflux, depression, and IBS. Instead of taking those prescription drugs, I decided to change my life with food. Yes, food healed me, and it's healed so many of my clients over the past 20 years of working with people. If you are interested in transforming your life, check out ketomaria.com. I'd be honored to help you.